Hey guys, this is Coach Galt. So here we are, at the beginning of the semester. I hope to see you guys really soon. I'm going to try to keep these video notes at videos around 10 minutes or hopefully less than 10 minutes is my goal. A lot of the stuff you can read off the slide yourself, so I'm not going to sit here and read off the slide. A lot of the stuff you already know. So my job is to lecture on what is important, and so that is my goal today. So let's see how long we get to today. Here we go. So obviously, Cold War. We're jumping into the Cold War, and it's important that you guys realize the difference between the Cold War and the Hot War, especially down here at the bottom with the proxy wars. And that was a term that we talked about. One of the first days of school this year was proxy wars, and kind of how a proxy war is a war that's fought, and there might be underlying or bigger purposes behind those wars. And we're going to talk about these later in these units on the Cold War in Korea, Vietnam, and then in Afghanistan, which is less known in the 1980s. The Cold War is a rivalry between two kind of economic ideals. You're going to have capitalism on one side, communism on the other side, and to make things worse, you're going to have espionage. So they're going to be spying on each other, trying to get secrets from one another to make things even worse. On top of that, you're going to have this idea that both sides can kill each other with nuclear weapons. So this mutual assured destruction, we're going to talk about that. This idea that both sides are sitting there with their finger on the trigger saying like, hey, don't blink because I'm going to blow you up first. Then both sides are going to blow up. And so it was a very stressful, tense time for both sides, not just from the American perspective. Communism, capitalism, this is an important thing that you're going to need to know. I'm not going to dive in too much. Communism stems from the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917 with the Russian Revolution, and Vladimir Lenin introduces the idea from Karl Marx, and that whole idea of the United States and the Soviet Union as inevitable enemies, just because they're so fundamentally different from the aspects of what each believe. I'm not going to go through these charts super intense, but please pay attention to these charts. In the West, individuals are encouraged to work hard and promise individual rewards. And then in the Soviet Union, they're distributed by the state. And so basically, on one side, everyone's equal and everyone gets the same thing. On the other side is, hey, if we work hard, the American dream, I can do great things. I can be whatever I want to be through that idea of the American dream. The important thing to know about each side is this middle bullet point right here, and the top bullet point. Basically, both sides thought their political philosophy was right. They both saw that their view was the only view to earn peace, freedom, justice, and plenty for all. And so if you look at this next, my computer will move quicker. The next slide. The next slide here in the middle, it says peace, freedom, and justice and plenty, and it has that on both sides. And this is a great chart. These charts are really good in looking at both sides. So make sure you dive into those and you understand and you can explain both sides of the Soviet Union and the West. So looking at some causes leading up to the Cold War, we didn't talk about it much, but the United States and the West, they do get involved in the Russian Revolution. It's not super well known because we weren't successful at it, but there is intervention in the Russian Revolution, in the Bolshevik Revolution, to overthrow the communists, because from the beginning, Americans said that the communists were bad. So the Soviet Union, after World War I, remember they pulled out of World War I because of their revolution. So in the League of Nations process, we don't hear about Russia. They're just kind of communist, isolation, Bolsheviks, Vladimir Lenin's in charge. We don't hear the communists again until we start seeing the 1930s and the appeasement of Hitler, and then also the non-aggression pact between the Soviets and the Nazis, which ultimately brings the Soviets and Stalin into World War II. It's important to know the significance of Stalin. He does rule as a dictator. He had this 5-year plan that was like, hey, we need to boost the industry, we need to boost our economy, boost our resources, and then we are going to be able to defeat Nazi Germany. Unfortunately, he ruled with great terror, as it says. It literally was called the Great Terror, and so he kills people. You can look at the gulags. I'm pretty sure I've heard you guys mention it before, where you have looked at some gulags or sources of gulags. And so Stalin dominates Europe, not really Europe, he dominates the Soviet Union, and he wants to take over after Hitler is out of the picture. So remember, in World War II, he was friends with Hitler, then they broke the pact, and so with Operation Barbarossa, he starts working with the Americans and the British at the Battle of Stalingrad, which was the turning point in Europe. The Soviet Union start pushing towards Berlin, and ultimately the Soviets are the ones who go in and take over Berlin for themselves. So Berlin was like ransacked once the Americans and the British and the French got into Berlin. It was completely ransacked because the Russians had destroyed everything. So if you look at this map right here, you see here's the Soviet Union. They had taken all of this territory, which is eventually going to become the Soviet Union, and all these different little countries like Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, they're not on here, Romania, Czechoslovakia, Bulgaria, all these little countries, and East Germany, they're going to become part of the Soviet Union, and this is directly after World War II. Also, looking at this chart, you can see how the Soviet Union was so impacted after World War II. Not only did a lot of their military die, but look at the chart, it also is civilian deaths in World War II, which is insurmountable compared to the number of Americans and the number of pretty much anyone else besides Germany and China and Poland, which Poland, that was more from the Holocaust. Almost done. Go through and look at these charts about how they emerged as superpowers. Look at the different reasons. And last slide, got to it, 8 minutes, 30 seconds. Here we go. The rivalry starts kind of in the middle of the war, and our next class today, or the assignment and the next notes are going to kind of talk about how we started distrusting each other. Because again, like I said in World War II, the enemy of our enemy is our friend. And so Stalin and the United States both hated Hitler, so the enemy of our enemy was our friend. And so right after World War II ends, you're going to have this weird like bipolar like situation, like are we friends, are we not, what's going to happen? And so the Cold War is going to last for the next 40 years until 1989. This idea of the Grand Alliance, you're going to talk about that in the activity and in our next notes, and we're going to talk about how the Grand Alliance, which was the United States, Soviet Union, and Great Britain, those big three right here at the different conferences in World War II, how they are going to break down in those conferences. I hope you guys have a great day. Please reach out to me if you need anything. Love you guys. Can't wait to see you. Have a good one.